Hey YouTube viewers, this is Super Mega Panda here, and today we're going to be doing a random one-off video like sometimes I do, because why not? And this is of a Magic the Gathering deck build, actually. I know that sounds weird, and probably most of you don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay, because I'm going to be showing you my epic Hydra deck. Yes, Hydras. Multiple-headed dragons that I don't know if they breathe fire. Look it up yourself, I don't really care. But either way, this is Magic the Gathering Hydra deck. Mostly green, tiny hint of blue just because of one card that's either green or blue, but you obviously use green because there's no islands in here. But here we go. Okay, so first of all, we'll start with the lands, of course. We start out with, one Temple of the False God. Now this, you can add 2 colors to your mana pool if you tap it, but you can only activate that ability if you already control 5 or more lands. This being included if you wanted to. You have 2 of those. And then of course, forests, because you have to have the lands in there. And we're going to have 22 of these, so 24 lands in total. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Okay, almost done. Lots of lands. And then 2 more forests at the end. And we're good there. Okay. I think I can actually probably shift this up closer, right? Like that? Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So then we move on to other spells like enchantments, sorceries, instants, that kind of stuff. And we'll start with Wild Growth. We have 4 of these in here, an entire playset. Costs 1 green, and you can enchant a land whenever the land is tapped for mana when it's enchanted. It gives an extra 1 green mana, which is very good. It's like being able to play another land for only 1 mana each turn. We have 4 of those. And then we have Explosive Vegetation. It's a sorcery. It costs 3 generic and 1 green. And it says, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them into play tapped, then shuffle your library. Which is obviously great because we want as much mana as possible in this deck to get the Hydras to the most power possible. Which they already are insanely powerful, just this makes them even more powerful. Then we have Bioshift. This is the one card that's both green and blue, but you'd obviously use green. This is, this says, it's an instant, move any number of +1/+1 counters from target creature onto another target creature with the same controller. Now this is brilliant for this deck because it only costs 1 green, and you can use it right before one of your Hydras dies because their main source of power is +1/+1 counters. You can use this right before it dies, move all the +1/+1 counters from it onto another Hydra you control to beef that one up even more for only 1 green mana, which is kind of great. You have to have 1 mana open available, though. So we have 3 of those. And then Vines of Vastwood. It costs 1 green. You can kick it for another green, which when you kick it, the target creature gets +4/+4, as well as that it can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control this turn, which is really all you'll be using it for because the Hydras will already have amazing power and toughness. So we got 2 of those. Then we move on to the creatures. So first off, we're going to start with an Elvish Mystic. Now, it costs 1 green, it's a 1/1, and you can tap it to add 1 green to your mana pool. Basically, like it's a first turn drop that just gives you mana. So, we got a full play set of these. And then we have Whisperer of the Wilds. It costs 1 generic and 1 green. You can tap it to add 1 green to your mana pool, but you can tap it to add 2 green to your mana pool if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which is really good because then it'll actually pay out for itself. So we have a playset of those. And we have Sambarwolde Sage. Costs 2 generic and 1 green. You can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. You can only spend this mana to cast creature spells, which is really all you'll be using it for. So we have 4 of those, whole play set. It's 0/1, unfortunately. All these creatures are quite low with the power and toughness. All these ones right here. But then we move on to the Hydras. So first, we have a Mana Gorger Hydra. Costs 2 generic and 1 green. Has Trample. It's a 1/1. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Now that's kind of great because it doesn't say when you cast a spell. It's whenever a player casts a spell. So it could be your opponent's turn, you have this out. Instantly, it gets beefed up even more. So we have 3 of those. Oop. Yeah, we should be fine. Okay. So then we have Colonia Hydra. Costs 3 generic and 2 green. It has Trample. It's a 0/0, which sounds kind of weird, but you'll see. It enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, so it's instantly a 4/4. Whenever Colonia Hydra attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So during combat, each of your creatures gets double the power and toughness, basically, because most of the good Hydras in here have... Well, actually, all the good Hydras in here, all the Hydras in here in general, have +1/+1 counters for most of their power or toughness by the time the game is deeper in, which is when you would be playing this. So we're going to have 4 of those. Full play set. And then we have Primordial Hydra, kind of the beast of the deck. It costs X generic and 2 green. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so whatever you pay for X, it enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it, which is amazing. As long as it has 10 +1/+1 counters on it, 10 or more, it has Trample. Now, that makes everything in here have Trample, except for this one, which is only until it has 10 power and toughness, which is kind of easy to do with this. So 4 of those, full play set. And then, right when you thought that things were crazy enough, we introduced Nyssa Worldwaker. Costs 3 generic and 2 green. It starts with 3 loyalty, and it has some really good abilities. This is really for use for the second +1, which says to untap up to 4 target forests. And then the -7, if you can actually get to it, says to search your library for any number of basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Doesn't even say tapped. That means every forest in your deck automatically on the battlefield, and it gets better. Those lands become 4/4 elemental creatures with trample. They're still lands. It doesn't say until end of turn either. So you've got a bunch of 4/4 creatures that are also lands that can be tapped for mana. So that is amazing. And I'm just going to put that over there. That's going to have to wrap this up. So this deck cost me around, for everything in like pristine condition, probably around $100. I mean, that seems like a lot, but for casual play, this is actually quite a nice deck to be able to use. Especially against like friends, family, stuff like that. Or like at Magic Nights at any card places. You can just bring this along, try to destroy some people. And as long as you survive until about turn 6 or 7, you've basically won the game because of all these crazy creatures. So I hope you all enjoyed this. This is kind of a one-off thing. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this again, because at the moment I'm not able to afford any other decks. I'm trying to build 2 more, but we'll see. We'll see later. So I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, I'm going to come back for other things, so I'm going to have to sign off. Bye.